This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where it's all about getting the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Brought to you by Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com. Now, here's your host, Kevin Pruitt.
This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast. My name is Kevin Pruitt, and our guest today dreamed of going viral on social media one day, but I doubt he ever dreamed it would happen in the way it did. Known as one of the most polarizing events in the history of the interwebs, I personally watched our guest navigate this potential catastrophe with grace and dignity, and he made proverbial lemonade out of a mountain of lemons. He's the founder and CEO of HyperSocial and OttoMatey. Both companies focus on B2B marketing and prospecting using LinkedIn. When he isn't working, he's spending time with his dog Roscoe and his girlfriend Emily. Hobbies include any form of sports, soccer, golf, volleyball, pickleball. And I seem to remember there was some hiking in there too, maybe at the last time that we talked. But join me in welcoming Braden Wallake to the Marketing Umbrella Podcast. Braden, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, there was hiking last time. Unfortunately, we sold our van, bought a house in the middle of Columbus, Ohio.
Oh man, you've domesticated now.
I know. It's awful. So a bit less hiking and more, what sports can I play every night instead?
That's good. Well, it is good to know that Roscoe's still in the picture. So, he was an integral part last time we chatted. But man, I kind of surprised him probably with that intro based on the surprising LinkedIn event. But what did I not mention in there to kind of round it up for listeners? Because we're certainly going to touch on that event. But round out any other bio information that we didn't touch on.
No, I think you nailed it. If people want to ask me any questions about B2B marketing, sales, anything, prospecting, running your own agency, happy to answer and help anywhere else I can for anybody. So other than that, you kind of nailed the bio. I do have a cat and I stumbled upon getting a bearded dragon too on accident. So I now have one of those. People probably have seen him on my LinkedIn too. So so now we kind of almost have a zoo going on.
Yeah, there you go.
At this point, so
I bought a zoo. That's right. Braden's life.
Right. Just need like one more class of animals. I just need a bird or a amphibian or something. Right. I think we'll start getting state funding here soon.
Got the whole species chain there. So I know our listeners. Some of them may already know this, but I know our listeners are really anxious to kind of hear about this major event that happened. That actually, I mean, I can look back at. We knew each other before that event happened. And then the event happened. I'm thinking your followers just exploded like virtually overnight. So tell me, just paint the picture, walk through the story for our listeners so they'll have just like they're sitting around a campfire, man. Tell them this is what happened and this is kind of the results this is how we navigated that.
Yeah, I think I've never really shared so I shared in a post after the post that went viral, because in the post that went viral, and I'll explain that in a second, I talked about that a mistake that I had made. I think this is a perfect podcast with all of the agency owners to talk about that mistake that I made that caused these events to happen.
Yeah.
So earlier on, 2022, I guess, is when this whole viral situation thing happened on LinkedIn. I still think it's the most liked most reacted to LinkedIn post to this day.
No doubt about it.
Which is, I still get comments and reactions on it. Like, guys, it's a year and a half ago. Like, let's move on. We got other things to do. But earlier on in the year, I was trying to figure out a way to better serve our clients. So we had a normal couple different packages of different types of monthly retainers that we had, similar to a lot of agencies. What we started working on was an implement and then release type of program, right? Where we would set everything up for our customers and then hand them off to to the software at that point. Like, we would set everything up and then we would train them how to use it, and they would take over. That was a much higher price point to start with, and our targets were small business owners, because it's a big implement, and then we don't have a recurring After that, we do because we actually built the SaaS now. But back then, we didn't really get a lot of recurring from that.
Right.
So it meant that our sales team had to keep on selling.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a higher price point, so they were really struggling with selling it. So we didn't bring on a lot of those people. Eventually, retainer clients will fizzle out, or we say, yeah, you should just go manage it yourself at this point because you're a little too hands-on. You don't really need us doing it or things like that. So we started to slow down, and because our sales team was struggling selling that higher price point, upfront cost sort of thing, that's what caused kind of our company's revenue and growth to slow down over those months. So that was kind of the big change that I'd made, is because I was just trying to find a better way to serve clients and help with the capacity too. Because with an implement and release program, the goal is for our team that, hey, let's do a lot of work, but then there's a stopping point, right? And the client, they're happy, but then we can take on more clients from there. With the continual adding of new clients on a recurring model, means more and more work for our team. Trying to get that scalable was a tough thing, right? So we were like, okay, because we've never had a head on finances, I guess, because I started this thing from nothing. So I'd have to like get enough clients to have a new account manager coming in, but then there wasn't a lot of training time for that account manager because otherwise they weren't making me money. And then I was like, okay, you're not making me money. Like, I don't have time to train you. So this is like this never ending battle, right? So I was like, okay, let's try this implement and release program. But because it went so tough to sell, I ended up having to let go of some employees because our finances couldn't afford those employees anymore. So now we've always been a small team. The maximum amount of employees we've ever had is total of 17. Now there's currently 9 of us, but had to let a couple employees go. With us being such a small team, we work very closely with all of our employees, right? So I think of all of my employees as friends. I don't try to go the, hey, we're a family route, because I think that's fake and phony. I do respect them, but I had to let 2 of them go. So I made this post on LinkedIn shortly after that I had just let go of an employee. After I just got done, I was crying, and I was like, I feel, because I knew at that time that a lot of CEOs were letting go of massive amounts of people. CEOs, like actual CEOs, not self-titled CEOs like me, who is like, hey, who's the CEO? Okay, I am. So I was like, okay, there's a lot of these CEOs who are out here letting hundreds of employees go, but I want the world to see that, hey, not every single business owner or CEO that's letting go of people is doing it where they just, they're stone cold and they're still getting their big bonuses home. Exactly. You got it. And so I took the picture myself, posted that picture and the thing to go with it of a mistake that I made. I just had to let 2 employees go. It sucked. Not all CEOs, are stone cold Steve Austin or, whatever, with this. And that was the start of it. I made that post. That was before we bought this house. So we were staying at my girlfriend's parents, and I went for a walk down the driveway because they've got a big long driveway with Roscoe, and they have 2 dogs as well. Come back, and I'm like, okay, what's sort of happening here? And I replied to
Why
a
is my
few
phone
people
bouncing on the table?
Exactly. And I saw at the beginning there was just a few angry comments of like, what did you do? What did you do? What did you not do? I bet you're just, still taking home your massissive bonuses and things like that. Like, people didn't zero research to figure out, like, when I say CEO of my company, like, there's 17 of us total. Like, we can only, not like a real CEO that's taking home millions. I have half of a house. We now still live in, we own it, but it's, an attached single family. It's not like we're out here making so much money. So people are like, what did you do? I was like, well, I didn't take my own pay for quite a while. Now we've been living in a van for the last 3 years. And then, so I started replying to those, and then it just kept going. I was like, okay. By the time I went to bed, I was like, okay, something's wild with this. And, and there was a lot of support along the way, but then there was the anger too. And people, I think, are still angry about it. And it's like, the people have moved on, like, they're doing different things now. So that's the viral post that happened, and the reason that it got there. So if you search me on LinkedIn, or just search crying CEO on Google, you'll see my stupid face with tears rolling down it. And yeah, there we are.
I'm curious though. So, things, they don't happen very often, these kind of unicorn events like this, but once it did happen, what was the, you're sitting there, you're going, I would think your first reaction is like, wow, have I just destroyed any hope I have of, leading a team or leading a company? Or did you think, kind of like the old adage, any publicity is good publicity type thing. So where did you land kind of in that spectrum?
Yeah, I'm not on necessarily that any publicity is good publicity kind of thing. I mean, it can be true. I did have my thoughts, and I went to my team the next day, and anybody that was left, and I explained to them what had happened, and I explained to them that their jobs were safe and that like we weren't that far behind where now a whole bunch of other people need to be worried about their jobs or things like that. So I was nervous on that side, just how the other employees would feel about the security of HyperSocial and where we were heading and things like that. So I tried to nip that right away. And then just the LinkedIn messages and the calls from New York Times and Yahoo Finance and all of this and I mean, I woke up the next day and my best friend called me and he's a truck driver, and he calls me on his way to work and he goes, "Hey, you okay?" I was like, "I think I'm okay." I was like, "Why? What's up?" He's like, "I just heard you on the local radio. Like they were talking about you, like the local radio station." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So and then had more of my friends reach out or girlfriends, family and friends, just, "Hey, is Braden doing okay?"
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like it was very upsetting, but like I have to not just keep on being upset about it. Like I'm trying to keep on going forward. So I can now, have a lot of people have their featured on as part of their social proof. Well, I can put that any big news thing there is, Fox Business, Entrepreneur, Forbes, anything. There's an article about that post on one of those.
But the fallout, or I guess the strategy after that. So if you're talking to, an agency owner, you're talking to a company, they're thinking, hey, we've had an event, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, but we've had a viral event. What are some logical steps that you put in place after the fact that say, this is how we can capitalize on this in a good way. That's how we can leverage this event.
That is a great question. With this one, I didn't do anything particular. I wasn't trying to capitalize on that I went viral for letting employees go. I think that's extremely poor way to kind of conduct yourself.
Well, I'm not saying you intentionally did this on the front end. I'm saying now that it's happened, how do we make the best of that? I guess that's more the intent of the question.
So one thing that I did do, and it actually worked really well, is I just put a post up. We've always been an agency that believes in leading with value first and foremost. Our prospecting efforts have always been, can we get on a 30-minute call with you and just teach you one-on-one how to utilize LinkedIn better for your own lead gen efforts, right? So we've always done that. So I put a post up there and I said, hey, just want everybody to know, like, something that we're doing right now. I put a link there to schedule a call, free consultation with us to get that. And it ended up doing really well. Which was really awesome, because then, I had more calls for our sales team, more calls for, because then people are like, okay, well, now how do I hire you from this, so on and so forth. And then the other thing that we did was, because it was people that I had lost their jobs, why this whole post went viral. One of the things that we offer is a entire LinkedIn profile optimization. So for anybody for the next month and a half who got a LinkedIn profile optimization with us, we did somebody who needed a jobs profile op for free. So if anybody else just paid for theirs regularly, which we had a bunch of people doing that already, but anybody for the next month and a half who just bought that, we would do somebody else's for free who is job searching. So just our way of trying to get back into that. However, that's really all that we did. It was nothing like, how do we blast the fact that I went viral in front of all of our audience or things like that, because I still think the reason you went viral, I think, can matter. If you went viral because of something great that you did, cool, put that in front of your clients and prospects and things like that. But hey, check out this post of me letting go of employees because our company's finances aren't there to keep them employed, is not something I necessarily want to keep on putting out to people and use it for, additional lead gen or visibility on that.
Right. It sounds like to me that I mean, one tactic obviously is more the kind of just give people an opportunity to connect, give
Hmm.
them, like you said, you can schedule a call. We want to be the Bombas of LinkedIn profile,
Right.
buy one, give one, type thing. So,
Yep. Yep.
but yeah, it is interesting. Um, how have you changed on leading your team from the day before that post to maybe a fair time would be maybe a month after that post happened?
That's such a good question. Um, I think one of the biggest things that as I've always struggled with as a people pleasing type person is having the tough conversations with employees
Mm.
before things go south. Right. So I've always been the lead with positivity and everything. So
Hmm.
employees bring me something and I'm like, yeah, this is good, but could you do better? When realistically there's some things that employees do, and I'm sure myself does it, it's not good quality. And like
Yeah.
letting them know that, hey, this is actually isn't good quality. So having more of those tough conversations ahead of time, I think, and just being more transparent in the communication on this is or isn't good enough.
Mm.
Or if we keep going like this, where we're going. Because before that, I had never had to let go of an employee for those reasons.
Hmm.
I still haven't had to let go of an employee for those same reasons.
Right.
But I now understood the possibility of if we don't get our acts together and start bringing more money, there are jobs that can be on the line. So
Hmm.
knowing those end consequences makes me more likely now. And I've had to read books like Radical Candor
Hmm.
on how to go about having those tough conversations because still like I dread them. I
Mm.
dread them for
Yep.
hours before they happen,
Yep.
but I know they have to happen because I care about these employees and I don't want to have to let them go
Right.
again. So I think that's the biggest transformation side on for my leadership is how do I have these tougher conversations with the employees to make sure that they're doing the quality work that we need to be able to keep on serving our clients best we can so we can keep on going forward.
It almost seems contradictory in nature that says, you know what, I am a people pleaser, so I'm trying to please my team. I'm going to be a good leader, but by pleasing them and saying yes and that type of thing. But actually, you're probably doing them more of a benefit or a favor by having these tough conversations, so you can survive as an organization. But
Definitely, definitely. It seems and on team calls, we have a strict policy around positivity. We don't
Mhm.
come on to team like group calls and bring up anything that's negative or call anybody out or anything like
Right,
that.
right.
That's a positive. We start those calls with our wins of the week,
Hmm.
and a personal work win and one thing we learned that week. But individual calls, it's time to okay,
Hmm.
let's have these tougher conversations because yes, your team wants to do better, and if you're not telling them how they can do better,
Yep,
better isn't going to happen, right?
yep,
Yes,
yep.
they know potentially on their own, but if you don't guide them and get them that way, this isn't good enough. They're going to keep doing the same level work because they
Right.
think it's good enough, but you're actually hurting them. You're hurting your clients. You're hurting yourself.
You mentioned earlier the idea that hey, this is where we were when we first started. I'm working out of the back of a van and I'm launching an agency here with with human effort. Very much focused on just service, people as a
Mm-hmm.
service. But you said you shifted a little bit. It's almost like a SaaS play now that you're providing with HyperSocial. So talk about that transition. How did it change your client base? Did it change your focus, your ideal market? How did the team have to adapt, when you made this shift?
Yeah, so we actually Hypersocial still serves. So we do get a lot of the implement and release clients now from a lot of referrals. We also still have our monthly services as well. We eventually launched the SaaS part of the business, which is actually where AutoMatey comes in.
Hmm.
Is we were utilizing a lot of the other tools that were out there. We wanted something that was everything that we needed it to be. So we said, hey, let's get our own SaaS product for this. We ended up making a couple, and originally it was for internal purposes, and then some clients got access to it. They were like,
Hmm.
this is good. And then we made an update last year in February. Yeah, February last year, actually, made an update, and clients were like, this is the best version of this software yet. And back then it was called Hypersphere. We just put a hyper brand name on it.
Right.
And then I was like, this needs to be its own SaaS product, and that's where AutoMatey came into play. So it's interesting running both companies because there are people on inside of HyperSocial who are working, doing some things for AutoMatey, like our head of marketing and our sales team was open to selling either one, depending on who they're chatting with. But I also now have employees who are just HyperSocial focused, and I have employees who are just AutoMatey focused. So in my head, there is a little bit of a different target audience. People who have their outbound stuff figured out. Cool.
Yep.
They can go use AutoMatey and just plug and play. Right. Yep. It's just about learning how that software works. For a lot of small business owners and a lot of people who don't know what to say to a cold person to get their attention and how to lead with value in a LinkedIn messaging or things like that, that's where HyperSocial comes into play. So it's interesting leading with both because it's crazy to me on the SaaS side, it's cheaper option. The funniest thing that I've learned is with SaaS, everybody wants a free trial. Like everybody's like, oh, you're a software, you have to give me a free trial. Yep. And it's tougher. I've seen it be tougher to sell a $99 a month software that it's what our agency uses too, than it is to sell a $700, $1,000 a month package to the same target audience because there's just, I don't know, a lower price point. Just, I don't know. It's been a really interesting learning curve there for sure on the ways people treat software versus agency.
I mean, it sounds like to me though, do you see the ideal client that buys the SaaS product is much more a matured company. It's larger. They've got more of a marketing budget. They have kind of things in place like you mentioned earlier, or is it almost the inverse of that?
It is, and that's who we're prospecting right now, is where you have multiple seats, where you have an entire sales team and you want all of your sales team having very consistent outbound across the board and automate that. Those do really well with AutoMatey. But what we've seen before is, we always have these conversations with small business owners. It's fine. Like you're small. But some of them can't afford the agency level services at $650, $1,000 a month. That's a big piece of their income. Right. So almost trying to get them down to AutoMatey, just, hey, go do something. Like better than doing nothing. Even if you don't know exactly what to say, go do something to get your message out there and go find some new prospects, some new leads, and new clients. And those are the ones that they get there and they're like, okay, well, can I try it for a month? And I get the budget's tight for them, but also like it's a big gap between $1,000 a month and $99 a month. Like $99 a month by yourself, if you put in an hour, 2 hours a month, can change your business, like your entire business. And it's been an education thing there, but I think there's a lot of freezing in terms of, now I've got to figure out what to say myself. And that's not why a lot of businesses started, was to, hey, let me go get good at sales or marketing, right?
So it's like a necessary evil where I want to get to. But it's interesting how often a product was just scratching the company's its own itch, so to speak. I'm thinking of like Slack and Basecamp and things like that. That it's like, this is just an internal tool that some dude just created, and wow, this is working so well. It's going to outgrow the parent.
You got it. It's almost to that point. Actually, it will probably cross that point here in the next 3-4 months. The interesting part about that is I'm now creating competitors for HyperSocial, because the way that the AutoMatey is set up is you can run multiple accounts on it. You can get these analytics, and now I've got agencies coming in who will do the same thing that HyperSocial does, and they're now putting their own brand on the platform, which is fine. But now they're doing the same stuff, which is cool with me. But now I'm like, okay, I can focus on partnering up with these agencies instead of considering them as competitors. Now it's like, yeah, we're competitors, but we could also just grow together, right? And we, you may serve audiences different, and we even have people who are prospects of HyperSocial or referrals, and they're not a good fit for HyperSocial. But now I have an entire arsenal of other companies who are doing similar stuff to us, but they specifically work with IT companies or business coaches or things like that too. So that's been the most interesting part about building the software that an agency needs, is now other agencies are like, hey, can we start to use your software for our clients, which is really cool. Because now I'm building out, how did I get my agency, how to grow HyperSocial? Because a lot of these people are newer into this world, or don't have as many clients as HyperSocial did and does, and so I've got to teach them all this stuff that I've got, so I can make sure they continue to grow the right way. So we're one of the few, I don't know, SaaS products out there that still has the agency. A lot of people will stop the agency or stop the, company that it outgrew.
Yep.
Well, we keep that there so we can keep on helping these agencies who are, selling through, offering their services, but utilizing the automated platform, help them keep on learning how they can grow their agency with fulfillment and avoid the mistakes that we made along the way and things like that.
And there's some huge benefit to still being a practitioner, versus a theorist, that
There
says,
is.
like college professors say, yeah, I can teach about marketing. I haven't done it in about 15 years, but I can tell you about it, versus I actually run a marketing company and I'm a professor of marketing.
Yeah. And not to call out, but like we've experienced that with other SaaS products where you go and you get their onboarding or something like that because you got a big enough team plan and they're willing to give you the free onboarding, or you ask their support for things, but it's all very either technically, here's how you push this button to do this thing, right? Here's how you start a marketing, here's how you set up a task in Asana, for example, or here's how you set up a board. And but there's no like, hey, this is how you should set this board up because you're working with these types of clients or things like that. There's no, and that's where the agency, the model really has worked, is everybody who's an automated client is still getting all of our best practices from our agency side too. We're trying to share all those things from people who are doing this and are required to do this to make their business successful all day, every day.
Yep. Yeah. That and exactly. It is an integration that is keeping it current and very practical and applicable, to whatever this, I mean, a constantly changing landscape, that we're facing. Two things I want to touch on real quick, that is such a hot topic today, is just around the whole AI space. How do you see AI being integrated in like any agency that's focused primarily in LinkedIn? How do you see them leveraging that? And just speak directly to marketing agencies that may have, be working with clients that want to really double down on LinkedIn. What are some lessons you kind of learned along the way?
Yeah.
That's a lot of questions out there at you in just a very short period of time.
There is. Well, basically, how's AI affecting us, and how should we use it to
there you go.
Be
That's
better,
right.
or
that'd be great.
So what I've seen, and I've taken a lot of AI courses from people who have really deep dived, I don't know the word there, deep diving into AI, and they've had VAs really deep dive and learn everything that they possibly can. So I've taken a lot of these courses to just learn the best I can for ChatGPT and things like that. There is this interesting thing of, number one, AI overuses certain words. Like I probably could put I'll do that after this. I'll put a LinkedIn post up that says, what are words that AI has ruined? Like rocket or skyrocket, that's one of them. The hope this finds you well. Every single email I try and write in ChatGPT, doesn't matter if I've told it 1,000 times not to put that, it's gonna try to put that in there.
Sneak it in there in the salutation.
The hardest part, and the reason a lot of people will use AI with what we do is a couple things. Number one is to more consistent content on LinkedIn. Number two is try to customize and personalize all the outreach efforts. Now that I find really interesting. And we're working on that inside of OttoMatey right now, where we actually have AI built in. You can choose to have AI customize an intro. It's still not there because, again, AI still knows, in my opinion, it honestly knows too much. And you really have to try and get it to ignore 99% of the stuff that you know and focus on this 1%. Right. And so it actually it's almost too smart, which is tough, because you really have to, imagine talking to Einstein and you're like, yeah, but just talk to me like here, but he knows everything. Right. And so on the posting part, it's tough because it's going to put out a lot of similar type content for a lot of people. And and that's where I want people to be the most cautious, I think, with AI. Yes, it's helpful. I like to use AI for brainstorming content ideas and post ideas rather than having it write the post for me, because AI doesn't come up with its own unique stuff. Humans do. And if you're just using AI, you're basically just repurposing things that are out there previously. That's what it's learned from, is stuff that's already out there. So it's not coming up with new things, but people are doing that for the speed that it can create content for. Now, I think there is some value in that to make sure that you're staying consistent if you're not that consistent of a poster. But I still think you should be having your own content, your own unique content that wasn't written by AI be pushed out too. On the customization of outbound side, and what we do is now we'll run things through either OttoMatey or Apollo, get enough, and we actually put things in the Google Sheet for our agency clients who do this. We'll put things in the Google Sheet, and there's a Google Sheet integration with ChatGPT that will then customize an intro, and we have to be very specific with what we tell it to. But so now we're seeing, because one of the biggest things that's happened recently is email's gotten more strict for cold email. And LinkedIn's gotten more strict with the amount of connection requests and messages and stuff that you can do. So you have exactly. So you have to be better with everything that you're doing. Which, if you personalize that, we've seen our numbers increase so much. Our connection rates, if we personalize that, our response rates, our lead rates have all gone up in percentage wise, because we started adding that thing. Now, our team likes to put it into that Google Sheet and then review it before just, hey, click AI and just assume it's great, because it probably won't be.
That's just a good general AI practice overall, right? Let it create and then you edit.
You got it. You got it. We just launched a piece of AutoMatey for AI commenting, which is still an interesting thing to me, right? Is because I get the purpose of it, and this is just working with my team, but I'm still divided on where do we stop pretending to be a human? Because now they're coming out with laws for the calling. If you're calling with AI, you have to tell the person on the other end that it's AI, right? You can't just call and pretend to do that anymore. They haven't gotten there with, what can I do about an AI commenting on somebody on LinkedIn, right? I don't know if there's a law there, but there's a weird thing. Or now did this person really think this comment? And because LinkedIn has rules where you can only have one LinkedIn account per individual, they'll shut down any secondary LinkedIn accounts or things like that. And so I'm using it for putting some quick comments on current clients, just so I can see their stuff, more likely to see their stuff that they're posting later as well. But also helping us stay top of mind there too, not using it on the prospecting side as much. So a long-winded approach to
it's a complex subject.
It is a complex subject. I mean, it has to be complex for the people who are building the AI too, right? We're putting AI into our stuff, and I'm still debating on whether it's the right thing to do ethical wise.
So what you're telling me is that we didn't just scan the Encyclopedia Britannica and out popped AI. It knows everything in the universe. So yes, now it's this useful tool. But it'll be interesting to see. To see. But before we shift into kind of our lightning round here, I just really quickly just touch on just LinkedIn in general. If you're speaking to agencies, what's the best way to leverage this? Just one or two golden nuggets.
I love this. It may be a couple more golden nuggets, because we've worked with a lot of agencies, right? We work with B2B companies, and so we've helped a lot of agencies. There's this interesting spot in the agency world recently where so I was actually listening to a podcast the other day about the future of agencies with Neil Patel and a couple other people on a podcast. And they mentioned a lot of agencies are dying out, and there's 42,000 marketing agencies in the US right now, or something like that. Ridiculous amount of marketing agencies. There are a lot of agencies dying out because they're not getting deep enough with their clients. And the other thing that I'm seeing a lot is that there are a lot of agencies who are just white labeling some other agency out there that does the SEO work and then does the Facebook ads, and they just are putting their own brand on that work that agency is doing. So there's this constant adding of middlemen, which I think is a weird thing. Now, I have, as an agency, no problem like, hey, I need somebody to do this or need somebody to do that, and going to other companies and asking those questions. But this constant it makes a lot of agency owners not the expert at that subject because they don't really understand SEO, right? They're
Or
just
lack
trying
of
to,
quality of control too,
or
maybe.
that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's getting tough to sell. But a lot of agency owners who have started to do that white labeling, if you're starting a new agency and then immediately your first thing is I'm going to go white label something else so I can sell those services, there's a lack of desire to understand. Like it's almost like you don't actually want to help business owners, right? If you're or whoever you is that you're working with, you're not actually like wanting to help these business owners. So those, what I see a lot of agency owners do, and it's kind of weird, and that's kind of a different point, but is they know that when they're marketing for something that they need to, if they're putting a funnel together or, running an ad or something like that, they're trying to give away something for free as hey, here's an ebook or things like that. When agencies do outreach on LinkedIn, so many of them I've seen don't want to lead with value. They just want people to be ready to show up to their call, ready to buy their $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month agency services. And you're like, how to lead with value for your clients, but yet you don't know that you should be leading with value yourself. You're expecting things to work differently because you're sending one-on-one messages versus running ads. So if you're an agency and you actually want to start utilizing LinkedIn, two big things that I say. Number one is build out a campaign that reaches out to your ideal clients, but start with value instead. My favorite way to start with value, so I'll just tell everybody, our internal account outreach, which books a ton of appointments. We start with, so we connect with them. When they accept the connection request, we then send a follow-up message. First message is a little bit of social proof, and then inviting them to a webinar about how to use LinkedIn for getting leads and sales. Just asking them if they'd be interested in attending, right? Free, doesn't cost any money, value-led offer. If they reply to that, or they say no, or they don't reply, our next message is to offer them 30 minutes of our time for free to teach them LinkedIn. From there, we then send one more follow-up message, but that's all led with value. The cool thing about the webinar play too, that not enough people are doing right now, is if you create a webinar on Zoom or something like that, you can actually then create a LinkedIn event page for that. LinkedIn allows you to invite up to 1,000 of your current connections to LinkedIn events every single week. So now you've got a different way to be able to go back to people who didn't reply to any of your messaging and give them a little notification in their notification thing that says, hey, Braden Wallake invited you to event, how to get clients on LinkedIn without being great at sales. And now, right now for our next webinar in March, I've got 300 attendees to that. It's a great way for an agency owner who doesn't want to spend a lot of time with every single prospect, giving them 30 minutes of value, but it's a way for me to spend an hour with 200, 300 people to teach them something, build myself as the expert. And they're like, hey, Braden, how can I hire you? Right. So outreach, leading with value, and then running webinars / events through LinkedIn is two of the ways that you're going to separate yourself from everybody else out there.
Yep.
Everybody else is going pitch. They're not personalizing anything. Personalize it, lead with value, run events, because events, in terms of free lead magnets, it's a chance for them to get to hear your personality, your passion, your expertise. It's the most trust you can possibly build on something that's free, unless you're doing free work, in my opinion.
Yeah. Are these, often you go to webinars, you think they're live. I mean, are these normally recorded events that you're running over and over again, and then maybe having somebody monitor the chat, during that event or whatever? Or is it truly a live event?
Yeah, truly a live event, because I think it works the best for especially so we just run it once a month. What we do is we run it once a month. And so that's an hour of my time each month to have 200, 300 people there. We have 5.
Well worth it.
Yeah, right. We have 5 accounts that are doing outreach. So they're constantly building up their new connections. So they have a lot of people. So we have 5 accounts who are then sending 1,000 invites each week. I'm doing it a month out of their accounts too, and my account. So we've got 5,000 people that are being invited to these events each week. And so the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So we do them live. I then send recordings afterwards as well. And I do other webinars that are more pre-recorded, like an OttoMatey demo webinar, for example, is pre-recorded. I don't try to say that it's necessarily live, but the ones that I'm running from LinkedIn are live.
And I could sit here and just continue to ask you questions because everything you say that just generates something else that I want to touch on. But I want to get to our rapid fire here and kind of wrap up and let you get back to changing the world through HyperSocial and through OttoMatey. But rapid fire, very quick, just first thing that comes to mind, short answers.
Sure.
And there's a method to the madness here that we ask these questions. But did you get along with your parents growing up?
Yes, but I think I was a frustrating child, so we argued a lot.
I love that. You have siblings?
Yes, 2 stepbrothers and a half sister.
Pets? Some of these you've already answered.
A dog, a cat, and a lizard.
And a bearded,
yeah,
right.
A bearded dragon.
Kids?
No.
What time do you wake up every day, generally, work days?
7:30.
And go to bed? What time?
10.
Ideal
11.
vacation spot. Money, not an object.
I like location, or like if I was take
It's your
country,
question, buddy.
Man, I really want to go to Patagonia in Argentina and just see those mountains and go see Tierra del Fuego.
I get it. Tell me how faith would intersect in your work life.
Religious faith or just faith in
These are your
I know
questions,
you get, they're my questions.
I don't want to lead the witness, counselor.
Faith in a couple things. So number one, faith in yourself is super important, right? You need to not have that what do they call it, where you think you're a fraud but
Imposter
you're not.
syndrome.
That's the one. Yeah. Faith in yourself. Faith in people, I think, is extremely important. Not assuming everybody's out to get you. And then there's this weird thing of when you think about things and enough, like the universe puts things into action. Like I have a Lego Toyota Tacoma, not a Lego, Hot Wheels Toyota Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got myself a couple weekends ago, got myself an old beater Toyota Tacoma, and I'm super stoked about it. But I've had that Hot Wheel for a while because that's the car that I've been wanting, my dream truck, and now I have it. So.
Yeah, I just took a post-it note and wrote $1 million on it. I'm just going to sit it over here to the side.
Perfect.
So, okay.
Perfect.
We'll see how that works for us. One thing that you would change about the marketing climate today, if you were king for a day?
I would get rid of just the constant white label crap of everything. Like I don't mind putting your brand on certain things, but there's so many agencies that exist and don't do a single bit of work themselves. They don't even do the strategy. They don't do the implementation. They don't really do anything. I think it's not serving people and not serving their clients at all. It's just a money grab.
Yeah. And there's certainly a balance in that.
Sure.
That for sure, that, you can leverage partnerships and services. Absolutely. And SaaS and that type of thing. But
you can't only.
Yeah, I
do it
get
through
that.
others.
I certainly get that, and I would certainly agree with that. But Braden, thank you again for just taking time today. It's been a great to catch up again and just to hear your story and be on the backside of the viral event instead of the leading edge. But
yeah, definitely,
it's really good to hear about that. Is there anything you just want to say really quickly to just kind of wrap up today before we let you get on with your day?
I don't think so. I think we got through a ton. I think there's last thing for creating a LinkedIn event, just one more key thing to put out there. I know this is kind of silly. When creating a LinkedIn event, create it from your company page. Mm-hmm. And then when you create it from your company page, there's an option there that says register via a LinkedIn or use a LinkedIn registration form to register. People have to then put their email to register for that event. You can then own those emails. So then you can send them reminders for the events coming up and things like that. So it's more likely to get people to actually show up to the event that are registering. So
and that creates a mailing list, for other purposes for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. You got it. So just last quick tip out there.
Hey, I'm glad I asked that question. Buddy, thanks again for taking time today and just sharing your expertise. Man, it's just been great. I know there's value for marketing agency owners that are listening to this podcast, and we're just trying to help them, grow and scale their companies. But
that's right.
Man, thanks again. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we provide the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. To learn more, go to umbrellaus.com.